Welcome back, dear listeners, to another enriching episode of Within and Without, a path to mindful living. I'm Arya Elena, your host and fellow seeker on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual insight. Whether you've been with us from the beginning or are just tuning in, thank you for being here. Together, we're exploring the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita and its relevance to modern life. In our last episode, we dove into Chapter 9, Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga, where Krishna revealed the king of sciences and secrets. We explored faith, devotion, and surrender as pathways to connect with the divine. Ryan and I reflected on how these teachings help us live with greater trust and mindfulness, even amidst life's challenges. Today, we continue our journey with Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, which translates to the Yoga of Divine Glories. In this chapter, Krishna describes his manifestations in the world, the countless ways in which the divine reveals itself through nature, humanity, and the cosmos. It's a chapter filled with awe and inspiration, inviting us to see the sacred not just in temples or scriptures, but in the very fabric of our lives. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and insightful guide, Ryan Wells. Ryan, Chapter 10 feels like a celebration of the divine's presence in everything around us. Krishna lists so many incredible examples: light, sound, strength, wisdom, reminding us that the sacred is never far away. What are your thoughts as we begin this exploration?
Thanks, Arya. Chapter 10 is one of my favorites because it takes spirituality beyond the abstract. Krishna's descriptions remind us that divinity isn't something separate from the world. It's woven into every aspect of existence. When Krishna says, "I am the taste in water, the light in the sun and moon," he's showing us that the divine can be experienced in the simplest moments of our lives. It's an invitation to cultivate awe and reverence for the ordinary, which is such a powerful practice.
Absolutely, Ryan. And what's so beautiful about this chapter is how it deepens our connection to both the external world and our inner selves. Krishna's revelations encourage us to look at nature, people, and even our own strengths as reflections of something greater. It's a perspective that transforms how we see and experience life. As we explore this chapter today, we'll uncover its teachings on recognizing the divine in everyday life, the balance between immanence and transcendence, and how cultivating this awareness can inspire love and devotion. We'll also reflect on how these themes resonate with other spiritual traditions and share practical ways to bring this sense of sacredness into your daily routine. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to our channel, Within and Without, a path to mindful living. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on all future episodes and help us grow this community of mindful seekers. Now let's embark on this journey into Chapter 10, where Krishna reveals the opulence of the Absolute. Ryan, are you ready to guide us through these divine glories and inspire our listeners to see the sacred in their own lives?
Absolutely, Arya. Let's dive into this incredible chapter and explore how recognizing the divine can transform the way we experience the world.
Chapter 10 is one of the most poetic and awe-inspiring parts of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna describes his divine opulences in vivid detail, saying, "I am the taste in water, the light of the sun and moon, the sacred syllable Om." These examples remind us that the divine is present in the most fundamental aspects of our lives. Ryan, why do you think Krishna chose such relatable, everyday elements to reveal his divine nature?
It's brilliant, Arya. By pointing to things we experience daily, water, light, sound, Krishna removes the distance between the divine and our reality. He's telling Arjuna and all of us that the sacred isn't something far away or inaccessible. It's here, now, in the simplest and most essential elements of life. This approach makes spirituality relatable and inclusive, which is one of the Gita's greatest strengths.
Exactly, Ryan. And Krishna's words also emphasize interconnectedness. He's saying, "I am the essence of all things." It's a powerful reminder that everything we encounter, whether it's nature, people, or experiences, has a divine spark. How do you see this idea influencing the way we live and interact with the world?
It's transformative, Arya. When we recognize the divine presence in everything, our perspective shifts. We move from a mindset of separation to one of connection and reverence. This awareness can influence how we treat the environment, how we interact with others, and even how we see ourselves. For instance, if we see the divine in nature, we're more likely to respect and protect it. If we see it in others, we're more likely to approach them with kindness and empathy.
That's such an important point, Ryan. And Krishna doesn't just stop at describing the divine in universal terms. He also personalizes it by saying, "Among mountains, I am Meru. Among rivers, I am the Ganga. Among warriors, I am Rama." These specific examples invite us to see greatness not just in abstract qualities, but in tangible forms. Why do you think Krishna includes these distinctions?
I think it's about inspiring awe and devotion, Arya. By highlighting exceptional examples like the grandeur of the Ganga or the heroism of Rama, Krishna helps us connect with the extraordinary in the world. These examples aren't just metaphors, they're reminders of the infinite ways the divine manifests. It's as if Krishna is saying, look around you. There's divinity everywhere in the ordinary and the extraordinary alike.
Beautifully said, Ryan. And Krishna also ties these divine manifestations back to the self. He says, "Of all that is glorious, beautiful, and powerful, know that it springs from a fragment of my splendor." This statement reminds us that even our own talents and strengths are reflections of the divine. How can we use this understanding to deepen our spiritual practice?
It's a profound realization, Arya. When we see our strengths and achievements as gifts from the divine, it fosters humility and gratitude. Instead of taking credit for everything we do, we can approach life with a sense of partnership with the divine. This mindset not only deepens our devotion, but also helps us use our abilities in service of something greater, whether it's helping others or contributing to the world in meaningful ways.
That's such a grounding perspective, Rayan, and it's one that can bring a sense of purpose and fulfillment to our lives. Listeners, as you reflect on Krishna's teachings in this chapter, consider this. What aspects of your life, your talents, relationships, or surroundings remind you of the divine? How can recognizing the sacred in these areas deepen your connection to the world and yourself?
It's a powerful question, Arya. And as we continue, we'll explore how these teachings resonate across different traditions and offer practical ways to bring this awareness into our daily lives.
To fully appreciate the depth of Chapter 10, we need to understand its historical and cultural backdrop. Rayan, Krishna's revelations about his divine manifestations come at a pivotal moment in the Gita. Why do you think this chapter is introduced at this point in the narrative?
Great question, Arya. By this point in the Gita, Krishna has already shared profound philosophical teachings with Arjuna, addressing duty, the nature of the self, and the importance of devotion. Chapter 10 builds on these foundations by giving Arjuna a more tangible sense of the divine's presence in the world. It's as if Krishna is saying, "Let me show you how this wisdom applies to the reality around you." This is meant to inspire Arjuna, helping him overcome his doubts by connecting abstract truths to everyday life.
That's such an insightful point, Rayan. And this chapter also reflects a broader shift in Indian spirituality at the time. The Gita moves away from the exclusivity of Vedic rituals and the intellectual rigor of the Upanishads, offering a more inclusive and accessible path. How do you see Chapter 10 embodying this shift?
Absolutely, Arya. In Vedic traditions, much of the focus was on rituals and ceremonies performed by priests, which weren't accessible to everyone. The Gita, and especially Chapter 10, democratizes spirituality by showing that the divine is present in all aspects of life. You don't need to be a scholar or a priest to connect with Krishna's teachings. All you need is the ability to look around you with faith and openness and see the divine in the world.
Exactly, Rayan. And this inclusivity isn't unique to the Gita. Around the same time, spiritual traditions in other parts of the world were also emphasizing accessibility and personal connection to the divine. In Christianity, for example, the teachings of Jesus highlight God's presence in all creation and emphasize faith and love over ritualistic practices. Similarly, in indigenous traditions, we see a deep reverence for the natural world, with elements like rivers, mountains, and animals seen as sacred.
That's such a fascinating parallel, Arya. Krishna's descriptions in Chapter 10, like "I am the Ganga among rivers," resonate with these traditions that see divinity in nature. Whether it's the flowing water of the Ganga, the towering peaks of Meru, or the vastness of the sky, these elements inspire awe and reverence. They remind us that the divine isn't confined to any one place or form. It's woven into the very fabric of existence.
Beautifully said, Rayan. And this idea of interconnectedness is something that continues to resonate deeply in modern spirituality. Whether we call it Krishna, God, or the universe, the message is the same. The sacred is all around us, waiting to be recognized and celebrated. Listeners, as you think about this historical and cultural context, consider how Krishna's message in Chapter 10 might inspire you to see the divine in your own surroundings. What places, people, or experiences make you feel connected to something greater? How might this perspective influence the way you live and interact with the world?
That's such a powerful reflection, Arya. And as we move into the next section, we'll explore how Krishna's teachings in this chapter can be applied to modern life. Let's uncover practical ways to recognize and honor the divine in our daily routines.
Krishna's teachings in Chapter 10 are filled with awe and reverence for the divine presence in all things. But how do we translate this sense of sacredness into our modern, often chaotic lives? Let's start with Krishna's idea of seeing the divine in the ordinary. What do you think this looks like in today's world?
It's a shift in perspective, Arya. Krishna says, "I am the taste in water, the light of the sun and moon." These are things we encounter every day, but we rarely stop to appreciate them. In today's fast-paced world, cultivating awe and gratitude for these small, everyday experiences can ground us and bring a sense of wonder to our lives. It's about finding the sacred in what we usually take for granted.
Exactly, Rayan. And this sense of awe isn't just emotionally uplifting, it's transformative. Research shows that experiences of wonder and gratitude can reduce stress and increase overall well-being. When we recognize the sacred in something as simple as a sunrise or a kind word, we shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. How might this perspective influence the way we approach challenges in life?
It's profound, Arya. When we see challenges as part of the divine tapestry Krishna describes, they become opportunities for growth, rather than just obstacles. For example, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we might ask, "What is this teaching me?" This shift in perspective can make us more resilient and compassionate, both toward ourselves and others.
That's such a powerful mindset, Rayan. And Krishna's emphasis on interconnectedness is especially relevant today, particularly in the context of environmental awareness. He says, "Among rivers, I am the Ganga. Among mountains, I am Meru." These metaphors highlight the sacredness of nature and its role in connecting us to the divine. How do you think this idea resonates with modern ecological movements?
It's incredibly relevant, Arya. Many ecological movements today emphasize the interconnectedness of all life, which aligns perfectly with Krishna's teachings. When we see rivers, mountains, and forests as sacred, we're more likely to protect them. This perspective can inspire practical actions like reducing waste, supporting conservation efforts, and choosing sustainable practices in our daily lives. It's a way of living in harmony with the divine presence Krishna speaks of.
Yes, and it's a reminder that spirituality isn't separate from how we live. It's woven into every choice we make. Krishna also says, "Of all that is glorious, beautiful, and powerful, know that it springs from a fragment of my splendor." This teaching encourages us to see the divine, not just in nature, but in ourselves and others. How can recognizing this spark of divinity influence our relationships and self-image?
It's transformative, Arya. When we see ourselves as reflections of the divine, we're more likely to treat ourselves with kindness and respect. This recognition can also deepen our relationships. When we see the divine spark in others, we approach them with greater empathy and understanding. It's a way of honoring the divine, not just in abstract terms, but in everyday interactions.
Exactly, Rayan. And that's something all of us can practice, even in small ways. Listeners, think about this. What would it look like to approach your work, relationships, and challenges with the awareness that everything and everyone is connected to the divine? How might this shift transform your daily routine?
It's a question worth reflecting on, Arya. And for those who want to take this practice further, small, intentional actions can make a big difference. For instance, starting your day with gratitude for something as simple as the light of the sun or a loved one's smile can set a tone of reverence for the rest of the day.
Krishna's teachings in Chapter 10 are deeply poetic and universal, emphasizing the divine's presence in all aspects of life. This theme isn't unique to the Bhagavad Gita. It resonates across many spiritual traditions. Ryan, how do you see Krishna's descriptions of his divine opulences reflected in other faiths?
Great question, Arya. One of the first parallels that comes to mind is Christianity. In the Bible, the book of Psalms is filled with similar expressions of divine glory in nature. For example, the heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. This mirrors Krishna's teaching that the divine is the light of the sun and moon and the essence of all beauty and power. Both traditions invite us to see creation as a reflection of the Creator.
That's such a beautiful parallel, Ryan. And in Islam, we see something similar with the concept of Tawheed, the oneness of God. The Quran often highlights God's signs in nature, such as the stars, the mountains, and the rivers, as reminders of divine majesty. Practices like dhikr, the remembrance of God, help Muslims connect with this sense of awe and gratitude. How does this idea compare to Krishna's emphasis on recognizing the divine in all things?
The connection is clear, Arya. Both Krishna's teachings and Islamic practices emphasize that the divine isn't confined to a distant heaven, but is present in the world around us. The act of remembering, whether through dhikr or reflecting on Krishna's opulences, helps us cultivate a constant awareness of that divine presence. It's a practice of bringing spirituality into every moment.
Exactly, Ryan. And this theme of interconnectedness is also central to indigenous traditions. Many Native American spiritual practices, for instance, emphasize the sacredness of nature. Rivers, mountains, and even animals are seen as manifestations of the divine, much like Krishna's descriptions in Chapter 10. These traditions teach us to live in harmony with the earth and honor its sacred essence. How do you think this perspective resonates with Krishna's teachings?
It's deeply aligned, Arya. Krishna says, "Among rivers, I am the Ganga. Among mountains, I am Meru." This isn't just poetic, it's a call to reverence. Indigenous traditions, with their emphasis on living in balance with nature, embody this idea beautifully. They remind us that when we honor the sacred in the earth, we're honoring the divine itself.
Absolutely. And in Buddhism, while the focus isn't on a creator deity, there's a profound emphasis on interconnectedness and the sacredness of all life. The concept of pratitya samutpada, or dependent origination, teaches that everything arises in connection with everything else. This mirrors Krishna's message that the divine essence is woven into the fabric of existence, binding all things together.
That's a great point, Arya. And it highlights how universal these ideas are. Whether it's Krishna's descriptions in the Gita, indigenous reverence for nature, or Buddhist teachings on interconnectedness, the message is the same. The sacred is all around us, and it's our task to recognize and honor it.
Exactly, Ryan. Listeners, as you reflect on these interfaith connections, consider how they might resonate with your own spiritual journey. What traditions or practices inspire you to see the divine in the world around you? How do you cultivate this sense of awe and reverence in your daily life?
It's a powerful reflection, Arya. And it reminds us that spirituality isn't about dividing ourselves by doctrine or practice. It's about finding the common threads that connect us all.
Before we close today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound wisdom of Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Krishna's teachings remind us that the divine is present in all things. Whether it's the light of the sun and moon, the flowing rivers, or even our own strengths and talents. This perspective invites us to cultivate a sense of awe and gratitude for the world around us and within us. Now, I'd love to hear from you, our listeners. Here are a few reflection prompts to guide your thoughts. What aspects of your life, people, experiences, or elements of nature remind you of the divine? How do you cultivate a sense of awe and reverence in your daily routine? What practical steps can you take to honor the sacredness of life, whether through mindfulness, gratitude, or environmental care?
These are wonderful questions, Arya. And remember, listeners, there's no right or wrong way to approach them. Whether you're inspired by a breathtaking mountain or a quiet moment of connection with a loved one, it's all about finding what speaks to your heart. Share your reflections with us in the comments.
And if today's discussion resonated with you, Don't forget to subscribe to our channel with Within and Without, A Path to Mindful Living. Subscribing helps us continue this journey together and grow our community of mindful seekers. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on future episodes and join us in exploring the timeless wisdom of the Gita and beyond. Ryan, as we wrap up, what's one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to carry with them from Chapter 10?
For me, Arya, it's Krishna's message that the divine is both infinite and intimate. The sacred isn't just in the grandeur of the cosmos, it's in the smallest moments of our daily lives. Recognizing this can transform the way we see the world and our place in it. It's a reminder to approach life with curiosity, gratitude, and love.
Beautifully said, Ryan. Listeners, as Krishna reminds us, spirituality isn't about searching for the divine in distant places. It's about recognizing the divine in the here and now, in every moment and every experience. In our next episode, we'll explore Chapter 11, The Universal Form, where Krishna reveals his cosmic form to Arjuna. It's an extraordinary chapter, and you won't want to miss it. Until then, stay mindful, stay connected, and remember, the divine is closer than you think. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Within and Without, A Path to Mindful Living. Take care, everyone.
Join us on Within and Without, A Path to Mindful Living, as we explore the art of mindfulness together. Subscribe to our channel for more insights and practices to bring mindfulness into your everyday life.